Hello and welcome to the Lost Art Podcast. I'm here with Gar.
That's me.
And I'm Paul. It doesn't do the way around. Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter.
Oh, God.
We're in bits.
What if we fucked it up?
Are you in as much terrible
I'm
nightmare
having a
realm as me?
late stage hangover where you think you get up in your grand and at 6 o'clock it goes, oh, I meant to give you that hangover.
Maybe not. Does that mean... Because I was pretty much the same. I woke up feeling weird, but it's only around 6, 7 o'clock that it proper kicked in. Does that mean we were still a little bit drunk?
Probably, yeah. That's why you shouldn't drive in the mornings when you have a few drinks.
I don't have a car anymore. Win.
I don't like
I get driven.
Today's one is about genre specific and and decade specific. We're doing 80s hip hop. Wouldn't be my favourite, but Gar loves this, so I'm going to do it with him.
I'm going to be honest with you. My 80s hip hop, it's not necessarily hit and miss. It's not my favourite. I'm more of a 90s guy.
You see, the problem is, I think the era went from mid 80s to mid 90s.
Yes,
that's the golden era.
Yeah,
so it's hard to. We're kind of cutting it off by.
Yeah.
If we had done 85 to 95
is weird, but you're cherry picking then.
But then you're also putting loads of gangster rap in, which is so big.
Exactly. This is very much.
It does make sense to do it this way.
Yeah, let's just do it this way.
Yeah, we have to.
Right. You want my first one?
Give me your first one.
Okay, so it's EPMD, and the song is "I'm Housing," and I remember EPMD. It's a song off the same album. The album. What was the album called? It's called Strictly Business. And they had a song called "You Gots to Chill."
That sounds so 80s hip hop.
Oh, stop it!
Was it licensed?
This is the thing about 80s hip hop is that everything's spelled weird. Yeah. It's spelled the way you say it. There's no like technical English involved whatsoever.
And all of the kind of cool street words aged very badly. So did it in the 90s, to be fair, as well.
To be fair, so did loads of these songs. They did not age well.
No, they didn't.
This is very much... It's like if you're into comic books and you only read like 1960s Captain America, you know exactly what you're going to get to a degree.
But it's the original, man.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. Like, I love a load of 80s stuff. But I think a lot of the artists that started in the 80s only really found their feet in the 90s.
Absolutely.
So, this song, these lads, two guys, the EPMD comes from... There's two lads, Eric and Parrish, making dollars. That's where EPMD came from. Exactly, yeah. There's Eric Sermon and Parrish Smith. And this album is old as fuck. This album, Jesus, 33 years old or something like that.
What year is it?
1988.
Nearly all my songs are 88.
See, once you go before 1988, you're into a whole different land of, like, whackery. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. That's the year of... I'm so-and-so, and I'm here to say, I'm crossing the street, you better get out of my way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're still into Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and Melly Mel, and you've got that early days, that kind of disco remnant stuff.
Like, the birth of hip-hop isn't necessarily... But the birth of it...
It's super important, and I'm sure it was deadly if you were there, but when you listen back to it, like...
Like, think of a sound person, you know. Do you ever think of, say, they were sound as a baby? It doesn't work like that. It's okay to say that, like, it's grand, it's important, but this is a little bit after the birth now.
Yes, I think a lot of these groups and rappers are starting to find their feet. Also, stuff like samplers and sequencers and drum machines were a little bit more prevalent as well.
More affordable.
So, yeah, exactly. So you're starting to get into, by the late 80s, you're starting to get a lot of these artists who are making their own beats from scratch.
Yeah.
As opposed to just using samples and cutting records. So this was this song, "I'm Housing," was the third and final single off the album, Strictly Business. It was covered by Rage Against the Machine on Renegades.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't listen to that album a lot.
I
do like it, but I can never remember what's on it. Pistol Grip Pump
on my lap at all times. Yeah.
And also,
I've actually have another. There is another song on this list that was covered by Rage Against the Machine on the same album as well. We'll get to that later. The sample is Rocksteady by Aretha Franklin. Right. There's EPMD broke up a couple of times, and I read a very funny story about when they broke up the first time. So remember, the two guys is Eric Sermon and Parrish Smith are the two guys. So apparently in 1993, Parrish Smith's house was broken into. right? Steal all the stuff. They just strip the gaff bare, right? He comes home, finds his gaff empty. He's like, what in the name of fuck? Calls the cops. Cops come out, do a recce, whatever. A couple of days later, they end up catching the guy, right? Trying to sell loads of stuff that was in his house. And they bring him in for questioning. They're asking, whatever, normal copper questions. Why did you do it? Fucking, where's the rest of the stuff? Blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that this guy and the group of lads who broke into Paris Smith's house were paid to do it by Eric Sermon, the other guy in EPMD.
Jesus. That's a bit like the Libertines. Didn't they have the Libertines? One of them robbed from the other one?
It's apparently the two lads were just... I don't know. I'm not going to make any assumptions, but they owed a lot of money out, and they were fighting over royalties and stuff like that, and they couldn't, even though
so Eric and Parrish weren't making dollars anymore.
Exactly. They were not making dollars, they were stealing dollars off each other. They got back together again 2 or 3 times, but they had a bunch of splits and reunions. I think they got together again 2 or 3 years ago to do some. I think they played some weird Lawyers for Music festival or something like that. It's all to do with legal rights of artists or something like that. And they're trying to get fund together for lawyers that would help bands and rappers. I'm not entirely sure.
Hope your man had a lawyer when he tried to steal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, apparently they got over that, but they never really proved that it was Eric Sermon. They couldn't prove it, but apparently that led to like long time animosity where they just decided like, we can't do this anymore, and fucking knocked it on the head. And then a couple of years later I got back together again. That's my first one. I think the song itself, I like the song. It's very, you're going to hear me say it's very 80s a lot with a lot of these songs. It's very 80s. However, I didn't want to pick You Got to Chill because You Got to Chill had more of a, you'll start to hear a lot of house music influences in hip-hop around this time. Yeah. And it's easy to just, you could do it on a 12 podcast.
Chicago. Where are these guys from?
New York.
New York, right. Oh.
Brentwood, New York. But you'll start to hear a lot of house music influence on a lot of hip-hop in 88 and 89. Yeah. And I didn't want to use one that had a lot of house influence. I wanted a straight-up 80s hip-hop song to begin with. That was my first one, and I do enjoy the song. I do listen to it. I'll be honest with you, in the last couple of years I've probably listened to the Rage Against the Machine version more because it pops up on playlists more often than the original EPMD. Even though I do own this, I actually own all the EPMD stuff at home for some reason. But
Genie Mac, I don't really know.
Genie Mackers, they're just one of those bands that were important for 20 minutes and they got a legend about them while they were broken up. And then when they got back together again, it didn't equal the hype. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you get me?
People wanted it more than...
Like I said, the first album's called Strictly Business. I think every other album is called like Return to Business, Taking Care of Business. They were all trying to chase that glory.
Eric Goes to Business School.
Exactly. But they were all chasing the glory of the first album, which was fairly important. What's your one?
Public Enemy, Bring the Noise, 1988. So many 88s in this. It's insane.
I'd say 88 of mine are...
88 of mine
88% of my 100% are from 1988.
What can you say about Bring the Noise?
Bring the Noise, right. Most people are going to know the Anthrax version.
Yeah, Chuck D and Anthrax. Yeah. Or no, it's just the two, Public Enemy and Anthrax. Yeah. Or is it? Yeah.
It's a Public Enemy song. Yeah. And they've done a version of it with Anthrax.
Because
everybody's going to know.
Because he had a lot of time for Scott Ian when he saw him playing all his gigs in Public Enemy t-shirts. Yes. Instead of kind of going, get that fucking t-shirt off you, stop getting street cred, you stupid bastard. Yeah. He went, no, fuck it, that's cool. Yeah. Let's do something.
I remember reading the history of Public Enemy is very interesting, actually. It's basically started off as a radio show, a show on the radio. Yeah. Chuck D went straight from college to hosting a radio show, showcasing hip-hop. And I think he used to get bored and he started like rapping over instrumental bits in the studio, and somebody heard him and offered him a contract. Yeah. And he kind of put this group together.
His flow is disgracefully good.
It's unreal. However, he's credited with inventing that shitty fucking trap style. That fucking... Yeah. Yeah. Solomon Rope, like soap on a rope because I'm beating a life so dope. Like he's credited with inventing that.
But that's different because he didn't stop. He didn't stop. He didn't break it up.
Apparently that's what they're copying, is that fucking, that flow style.
It's fucking...
Did I just rap on this podcast?
I think you did. Well, I think that was bound to happen, but I'm glad we did it like 5 minutes in.
Yeah, me too. I'm too hungover to do it well. That's my excuse.
Are you a good rapper?
I'm fucked. What? I've made a rap album. I told you.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it does exist. It does exist.
This was also on the Less Than Zero soundtrack. Remember when we had when we were doing the covers one? The Hazy Shade of Winter was written for that. Covered for that. It wasn't written for that. It was written by someone else. But this was written for this soundtrack as well, as far as I know. Then it appeared on It Takes a Nation of Millions.
It Takes a Nation of Millions.
I knew before that a little bit from the odd bits and bobs movies or whatever like that, TV shows. But it was when Tony Hawk's came out.
It got a big boost off Tony Hawk's.
That's when people learn the lyrics, because you have to listen to it 10 times an hour.
Skating around that fucking schoolyard. Jesus Christ. Schoolyard.
We're feeling like soap on our rope. The pizzas and rams are so dope.
Everybody at this stage, if you are our age or play a lot of Tony Hawk's, everybody knows the lyrics to that song. Yeah. Not just a bit that me and you just only remember right now.
I'm butchered
to shy. Listen, Public Enemy are quite possibly the most important hip hop group culturally to that scene, I think, ever. I think there are groups that had more hits but
they weren't singing about themselves and how great they were.
Incredibly, I mean, well, it's the wrong word, but societally aimed.
It was actually some of the first angry hip hop.
Incredibly angry. Yeah. Like his voice. And you used to get the kind of poppy ones where they let Flavour do his bit.
They had to.
You know, they get 911 as a joke. They let him loose. Yeah. They're the fun. Yeah. They're the fun Public Enemy songs.
It's a mad mix.
Up there. But there's lads marching around with fucking AK-47s on the stage. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's never going to be high-fiving people. Yeah. You know, there's no beach balls getting thrown around a Public Enemy gig, you know. I'm surprised people are even dancing. They should be standing there saluting. Like, they're incredibly important. I love them to bits. I've been listening to them since I was very young. And for some reason, even though I've been listening to them for a bajillion years, I still don't know an awful lot about the band. I find that disgraceful. That's something.
Well, didn't they not? They weren't really mad into interviews and all that cracking. It's really hard to know much stuff about them. In the studio, went on tour.
I don't even know how many kind of television appearances Public Enemy done. I'm sure they would have taken every opportunity to get the message out.
Maybe. I wasn't really watching hip-hop TV in the 80s. Hoppity. What's your next one?
My next one is a big one, and it's Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. It Takes Two.
Did it take two of them, yeah?
Did take two of them. It took two of them to make one album and then fuck off.
Really?
To be fair to that song, that's probably one of the biggest hip-hop songs of all time. It's universally recognised. You could go to Iraq and play that in the desert and people start dancing. Like, it's one of them songs. DJ Easy Rock died in 2014 of a diabetic seizure, but they only done one album.
Oh, don't be doing that.
I know, yeah. They literally done this one album. The album's actually called It Takes Two as well, of course it is, in continuing with the trends that we talked about on previous podcasts. So, the samples from Lynn Collins' Think About It, and this would have been probably their biggest crossover track with starting to introduce stuff like acid house and house music into hip-hop. It's considered the greatest hip-hop single of all time.
Really?
By many, many music documentarians and journalists. It's huge. It's monstrous. It's also one of those, like I said, you could play that anywhere. Everybody knows it. It's a welcome injection on kind of any set anywhere. But they done one album and they broke up because there was something to do with a sample somewhere that was used that was a bit dodgy. And Rob Bass had to leave the group, and he's the only one. He went on, he released a couple of albums himself. He done like Rob Bass. I think he had one kind of halfway hit with the second or third album. That wouldn't have been super at all. Nothing compared to It Takes Two, which is just fucking monumentally huge. But he released 2 albums after it. And he guested then on a couple of tracks. Yeah, he guested on a couple of tracks. Easy Rock done a few bits and pieces. I think he done some production. And he would have done some guest DJ spots for people as well. But as a pair, as DJ Easy Rock and Rob Bass, like one album, one and done, they made their mark and fucked off. It's an interesting story about like how huge they were when that song came out, and huge for kind of years to come, and played all over the world off the back of that one single, selling their album in the hopes that people are buying it thinking this album's going to be jam-packed full of those bangers.
And was it?
Not really. There's one other song that was alright.
That's all you need, though. Just a second single to go. Yeah.